Hello, welcome to Screen Talk with yours truly, Nomfanelo. So recently, the nominations for this year's Oscars were announced. I did do a video where I shared my thoughts on that, so you could check that out already on the channel. But if you have already seen the video, I did tease the topic that I'll be discussing for this video, which is going to be about Timothy Chalamet and the whole Marty Supreme press tour. Now, I'm not going to give like a play by play in terms of the whole Marty Supreme press tour, but I just want to give like a broad strokes of it, some of the reactions, and talk about that recent article that was published on Vulture. So here is a Google overview of the press tour. So many describe his presser to be very unhinged, method acting, as it featured unconventional Gen Z focused moments that embodies the whole theme of the movie, which is about dream big, all that stuff. So, if you're not aware, because Marty Supreme, which I believe is currently out in theaters as of the time of this recording, is set in the 50s. Timothy Chalamet plays Marty Mauser, who essentially is trying to pursue his dreams of being a ping pong player while dealing with personal stuff in regards to his relationships, romantic relationships with his family, and the hustles that he's done in the movie. Now, I have not seen the movie itself. Well, in a way, I did when I rewatched The Secret Agent at Bytown Cinema, where they accidentally showed like the first minute or two of that movie by accident. So in a way, I saw it, maybe like less than 1%, but technically, I did not see the movie, so I cannot comment on the quality of the movie itself. But I remember like when this press tour was happening, there were some people that saw the movie based off what they saw in this press tour and felt disappointed as it did not reflect the movie itself. And while there's others out there, of course, that essentially loved the press tour and loved the movie. So it really depends on who you ask on whether this was both good or bad. So let's just continue here. So they mentioned here the key aspects, which was performance art, where Chalamet has been described as method acting his way through the tour, adopting an arrogant, high confidence persona similar to a sports star in pursuit of greatness, which was generate both excitement and some backlash. Now, I don't know. I feel like with the method acting, you could say it's debatable. Had that speech when he won the SAG award for Best Actor for the Bob Dylan movie, I forgot the A Complete Unknown, I believe. When he won the SAG award for that, and he gave that speech where, paraphrasing, where he said he's trying to go for greatness, achieve greatness, wants to be the best. I'm just paraphrasing, but that was the sentiment essentially. Now, there's nothing wrong with being confident, but in a way, though, it may read to be arrogant. So, because I remember when that happened, there was a lot of mixed reactions with that one. Because I think had that speech not happened, maybe this whole press tour would have landed better. Maybe. Or maybe we still would have got the same result. Who knows? But I think, yes, with that speech in mind, and then you have what was happening here, many people did not respond to it well, I would say. And then also mentions here there were unconventional tactics where, I remember, yeah, there was this Zoom call. I think it was scripted with that one where he kept shouting, what was it, Marty Supreme, and all that stuff. And then yeah, they mentioned the stunt where he was on top of the Las Vegas Sphere, and then there was these jackets, custom windbreaker jackets. And it mentions here that marketing was targeting Gen Z, featured a mix of fashion, social media, and unexpected appearances. And apparently, Chalamet claimed in interviews that he spent years preparing for the role by learning to play table tennis, treating the press tour as an extension of his dedication to the character. But I think again, though, like some may actually take his word on it, while others think like, do you think is this really him? Like I don't know. I don't know. So I think it's up in the air in terms of the whole method acting part of it. And then, yeah, backlash, it says while some found the approach refreshing, others found the interviews confident, commentary to be divisive, and all that stuff. Yeah, so that's the broad strokes of the press tour. And I found this post on Reddit where I guess we were sharing this Variety article where apparently he was asked about the divisiveness as a press tour with Chalamet. Apparently says that it's in the spirit of Marty, where he says, "I'm trying to get this out in the biggest way possible." Now that could be both a positive and a negative. Because had like if let's say this movie, I don't know, was not aiming to get awards, it was just let's say a typical release, then sure, maybe. Um, People might buy that. But because he's trying to aim to get that Oscar, which many believe that he will, I think that's still up in the air. We'll have to wait and see what happens within the next few weeks. Um, some are, I don't know, not buying what he's selling, I would say. So let's get into the comments here. So a person says the movie itself is apparently great and has very little to do with the press tour. But it's not just his style, but A24's attempts to get a new audience. The film bros were already going because it's a Safdie film, but they needed to get another people through the doors. Now, speaking of film bros, I saw video the other day where this YouTuber covered uh, why everyone hates film bros. I'll link that video if you want to check that out. That it was quite entertaining with that video. I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, that I saw similar comments like this person was making. And another person says, "Yeah, it's a bit weird how promo for this movie is going. You think this was some mega pop album instead of a sports drama from A24." The film cost $70 million, so they need to do better than Everything Everywhere All at Once or Civil War numbers to break even. I think my confusion or issue is he was the same persona on his last movie tour, so I assume it's just the way he acts. He isn't so old that there's a trove of interviews of him acting wildly different, so what may seem like a stretch in an act doesn't feel that way to me. Yeah, because I did see that as this press tour was happening, people kept bringing up the press tour for A Complete Unknown, which apparently did some similar things, but maybe was a bit more toned down. But it seems like here with this case with Marty, it's gone over the top. So yeah, because I think as I said though, like with the whole method acting part of it, some may actually take face value that yeah he's just acting, while others are not gonna buy what he's selling essentially because they've seen that before, as the person mentions here. Um, let's see here. Um, you know what? Equality. This press tour really proved to me that men can also suffer from overexposure, a la Jennifer Lawrence and Hathaway. I went from a Timmy fan to this face every time I see him doing something. I'll leave the Reddit post in the description if you want to take a look at it. But yeah, with all this said, I want to bring up the article that kind of prompted this video, which came from vultures. And the title of this article, it really grabs your attention, I would say. So it says Timothy Chalamet could only out for so long. So I'm not going to read the full article. I'll leave the link for the article if you want to take a look at it. So it mentions here that with one of the moments during the press tour is that there was this music video, I would say. Apparently, it's supposed to be for the movie, but it's like this trap rap song with him and some other rapper. Yeah, they mentioned here ESD Kids, based in the UK. And yeah, that was a weird video. Honestly, I didn't know what to think of it. I'm just like, what is this? And I'm like, what does this have to deal with ping pong? I'm just like, I don't know, because I saw there were many people that defended that video, while others did not defend. They found it offensive, and I remember I kept seeing it come up at the time. They called Chalamet a culture vulture and all that stuff. And I think the article is really going to get into that. So, yeah, they mentioned here that Chalamet collaborated with Drusky, dropped a guest verse on UK rhymer ESD Kids for Roz, and claimed Unk status on his 30th birthday. He ticked off the interest in the affectations of the textbook millennial molded by black culture. He was positioning himself as the nexus between dyed in the wool sports and rap fans and Zoomers unaware of the AAVE origins of their daily slang. It's a move that seems to have paid dividends at the box office. Marty Supreme became A24's highest grossing film in North America today. Now he cruises to award season's finish line, shaking the theatrics. At the Globes earlier this month, Chalamet wore black Timberland boots. The brand has come to signify rugged, often uncultured New York grit, its actual working class relevance and celebration and seminal rap lyrics feeding internet snarkers stereotypes of city dwellers. This was Chalamet toning things down. His acceptance speech ditched the self promotional pomp of recent weeks as he humbly congratulated his fellow nominees and thanked his partner of 3 years, Kylie Jenner. He seems to crave a measure of distance from the antics that earned him a spot on the Know Your Meme page for W word, charitably defined as a white guy getting overly familiar with the trappings of inner city blackness. His ability to weaponize a fine tuned silliness at no cost to prestige reflects an industry where white actors enjoy greater freedom in promotion and self expression. So, yeah, forgot to mention. So, this article came out just a day before. Before the nominations for the Oscars were announced, which I find in a way is quite hilarious. But I'll be honest, I thought an article similar like this, whether it was this outlet or a different outlet, would have came out sooner, not long after that trap video came out. But I guess what, better late than never, I suppose. So yeah, I didn't think it was going to affect when it came to the nominations themselves because it seemed like it was a given Chalamet was going to be nominated for Oscar. But maybe, I don't know, it might affect because we have BAFTAs coming up. I'm sure he'll be nominated for that. But maybe in terms of voting, some of the voters might, you know, choose other alternatives depending on who's nominated. But we'll see. Maybe similar thing can happen with SAG. I mean, now it's called the Actor Awards, but it's still SAG and all that stuff. But yeah, the timing was interesting, I would say. But we'll see, like, if this will affect it or maybe it won't. Who knows? And then it talks about here the what the W word means. Because we refer to some film called White Boys that came out in '99 about, it's so funny. It says it's a cautionary tale about corn fed, Caucasian bros who ruined their lives chasing a dream of inner city hustlers' roughness that they gleaned from gangster rap lyrics and videos. A misguided, often cartoonish pursuit of the signifiers of blackness is implied. This is the kind of guy who wears a durag to be more like the badass black men he's seen in them, whose mannerisms seem studied, not inherited. In the 90s, he might have worn an Africa medallion that required profuse explanation in mixed company. The odds spawned an army of Eminem lookalikes, and the 2010s yield inscrutable Izzy serious characters like Riff Raff, Think Pre MAGA, and Traitorous Michael Rappaport. Jesus. And then, yeah, they mention here that Chalamet was knighted at some New York event by Lil B. Um, yeah, and there was a whole rumor before that trap video came out that apparently Ease the Kid was Chalamet's alter ego, and I think in interviews that I saw at the time, he kept saying all will be revealed. Like he didn't really give a straight answer, I would say, because he didn't confirm it, but he also didn't deny it. And then when the video came out, it showed that, yeah, it wasn't him, but I guess he kind of like played into it, I suppose. Um, and then, yeah, they talk about, yeah, like his appearances. In different outlets and stuff. Like they mention the warm up jacket worn by Knicks player Carl Anthony Towns and Frank Ocean. And mentioned that, yeah, like that Chalamet essentially has been a fan of hip hop essentially, because I think he has done some videos in the past, I believe. Um, and then So they talk about when Drusky he brought Chalamet to be a guest judge for, it says, could have been Records imprint. Um, and then apparently July, Chalamet appeared in skits in Bieber's Swag album, hosting a therapy session about the pitfalls of notoriety, but overselling Swag's thesis that Bieber loves soulful throwback R&B as much as his wife and Faith. It says the skits face planted in part because of Bieber's jumbling of black and queer slang. It's not clocking to you that I'm standing on business, and some cringe lines from Jusky. Your skin white, but your soul black. This made the adeptness of Swag's retro songs feel aspirational, like Bieber ached to be something other than the Christian Canadian dad he is. Chalamet's run, by contrast, answered the question of what it might look like if someone with a measure of self awareness dabbled in the absurdism of a patois speaking Chet Hanks or an R&B bad boy Bieber. It's like Jesus. um, Apparently, in his Could Have Been Records appearance, Chalamet claimed 2% Jamaican heritage but avoided disaster on par with Swag. Um, and then apparently, after filming the Drusky episode, Chalamet visited Carmela Anthony's podcast to reflect on growing up in Hell's Kitchen without setting foot in a majority black neighborhood of Brownsville, stressing that he went with Drusky itching to escape typical junket press spaces, and learned a lot about infrastructural neglect. Apparently, he talks about what he feels is his place in hip hop, saying, "quote I want to be respectful in all the shit you're supposed to say, blah blah blah. But really, I'm just a fan. I'm a fan of black culture and hip hop and all of it." Which I think, yeah, there's nothing wrong with him being a fan. I know there's some people that criticize him for that, but I think, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. And then it says Chalamet self identifies as a New Yorker and black culture enthusiast who lucked into the forced self awareness of fame. Quote, when you're growing up, you're not thinking, oh, is this appropriate? In a position of celebrity, you gotta watch your step. And then apparently, yeah, it mentions that you could argue that Chalamet was channeling Marty, of course, from his movie. It says pulling from the character rating New York City of the next millennium, a home of the maniacs, philosophers, and ballbusters of side talk and subway takes videos. It's notable then that Chalamet's Globe's acceptance speech contained none of the self-effacing peacocking and no overt nods to black culture. The adjustment goes to show that he has a calculating sense of which references resonate with divergent demographics. Now, I do think the article should have mentioned the critic's choice of his acceptance speech, because that was of the first time I would say is when we saw like the shift. You could argue, and yeah, that speech he did at Critics' Choice was not great. He seemed nervous, and apparently he showed up late to the ceremony. It's uncertain why he did that, unless it was intentional. But yeah, that was not a great speech at Critics' Choice, and I don't know. I saw some people try to say like he was being humble, while others are not falling for it again because of um, past speeches and appearances and all that stuff, as I've mentioned earlier. But yeah, yeah, and then mentions here he did a Q&A that was moderated by Robert Downey Jr. Apparently touched on the process and the promotion after Golden Globes. Um, and then he mentions here that it's instructive of how he tailors his appeal to the room. Weeks of attention seeking gestures rapping about lean with SD Kid, referencing deep Kirk Franklin cuts of Jusky, and memorizing moments in basketball history of Mello. Broadcasted inner city cool to people who aren't often visited by someone with Oscar buzz, but awards voters who snipe at talent anonymously in trade publications enjoy the stuffy, demure rhetoric the Marty machine largely ignored. In this company, Chalamet's art school pedigree is a badge of pride, therefore, his sound bites emphasize toil and study. His White Boy of the Year act is so funny, leaning into the title he picked up at Minnesota Timberwolves guard Anthony Edwards believed that awards in October appears to be dying down as the winter beats on and the Oscars approach, making the 2025 shenanigans feel a bit transactional. Chalamet's embrace of hip hop culture seems genuine, but in dialing his taste and mannerisms back, he exhibits a luxury not available to the people whose culture he champions. So yeah, the article is not bad, but I do think should have mentioned the Critics' Choice appearance, because that was the first appearance before the Globes is when we first saw the quote unquote shift. But that acceptance speech was not great, but at least the Golden Globes one was better. All right, so now that we got the article out the way, I want to share some of the responses that the people made here under the Twitter post here. All right, so one person says the Black millennial literary class really hasn't adjusted well to the post BLM era. No, an SD Kid feature, skits on a Bieber album, and Drusky appearance is not pitiful to Black culture or a disservice to Black actors. My stomach, the Oscar campaign just got interesting. Marty's Supreme Press Tour was weird, and Chalamet's shift to being humble shows he really wants to win the Oscar, as mentioned in the article. The comments section so far is hilarious but on point. Um, so, quotes a section of the article says Chalamet's embrace of hip hop culture seems genuine. But in dialing his tastes and mannerisms back, he exhibits a luxury not available to the people whose culture he champions. And then person says, on the money, hopefully Timmy uses his fame and fortune to support up and coming black artists. I mean, we'll see if that actually happens. Meanwhile, I didn't pay a lot of attention to his campaigning last year, but I'm curious if there was a similar shift in his persona between marketing and Clear Known and the award circuit tour. I'd sort of like him to go even deeper in his bag when he promotes Dune Part 3. Big day for white boys who say inshallah, etc. A self aware marketing campaign done is as performance art. Let's see. A person says, I used to like him. as I still think he's a very talented actor, but he's turned into a really obnoxious, craven person. Or maybe he always was, and I slash we just didn't see it in public. Well, maybe he'll grow up a bit and it'll pass. And then person responds, I think he's just in his Tim Kardashian Jenner era. That's funny. Whenever I see Timmy pulling this crap, I realize the SNL heat skirt, you never loved me, mom sketch wasn't satire, it was an admission of guilt. Ouch. Let's see. Person mentions a quote from the article, says great read. Let's see. This is a really good read. He's not phony, and this article definitely doesn't represent him like that. But for this last line has always been the issue when white rappers rebrand to indie or punk, everyone just accepts it and moves on. This is the same thing. Mentions the last point of the article here. I read the article's headline. I mean that's a headline, and thought if I had to read a Chalamet focus piece, and this is the one. I said Timothy was doing his own personal ministerial act for black people, but particularly black men to mock them, and they gobbled it up. And when the shouted out Michael B. Jordan during his acceptance speech, that which was at Critics' Choice, that wasn't him recognizing talent. He pandering to the same people he mocked. People pulled up pictures of his black nanny in defense of this. I will never forget. I'm like, that's strange. Crying at this hit piece, but Michael B. Jordan still not winning Best Actor. Bookie, get over it. By the grace of Allah, you're not getting that Oscar Club Chalamet. Now, I believe what Club Chalamet is run by this person. I forgot her name, but I remember there was this weird Wall Street Journal piece on Club Chalamet and all that stuff. But yeah, that is an interesting person. I'll leave it at that. I'm just an asshole, but I don't care who wins. I just want him to lose. Wait, give that Best Actor award to Amy Adams for Arrival or Naomi Watts for Mulholland Drive. I mean, I don't think that's possible, but smear campaigns like this make you miss having a real Oscar villain like Emilia Perez. This is award season discourse, baby. I like Chalamet, and when it comes to his on screen performances, there have been very little to criticize throughout his career. This here is a fascinating, valid critique of his methods to tap into Black culture when it's beneficial and abandon it when it's not, and then yet mentions the last part of the article. We just saw this. Here we go with the hit piece funded by a competing studio slash film slash actor. Uh, let's see. I think yeah, we kind of get the gist here. Uh, but yeah, let's see the comments briefly. Vulture said vulture. Yep. What a read. The most important part of the piece for me that sums up the pillaging of black culture and white privilege in the world. Yet his ability to weaponize a fine tuned silliness at no cost to prestige reflects an industry where white actors enjoy greater freedom in promotion and self expression. Not White Boy Winter is canceled. Kylie taught him well, referring to his partner in life, Kylie Jenner. Culture Vulture. So yeah, relatively the same thing that I just read in the quotes section. But yeah, I would say people are not happy. It seems like with Chalamet. Now, as of the time of this recording, I have not seen any response from Chalamet or his team in regarding to this. I don't know if this will, if that'll happen, but we shall see. Um, I do want to point out that some people say that this is a hit piece and all that stuff. I did see similar comments when that whole trap video or whatever that is, when that came out, I did see some videos where there were complaints mainly from black people on that. So this is nothing new, but I would say with the aspect of him doing the whole shift from what he did with the press tour to what he's doing now with his speeches and stuff, that's, I would say, the new reporting, but not new to me because I have been following what's happening, but relatively new. So that pretty much concludes this video on the whole Timothy Chalamet, Marty Supreme press tour and his Oscar campaign. So I want to know all of your thoughts on this. Did you enjoy the press tour of Marty Supreme or did you not? If you saw the movie based on the press tour, let me know your thoughts on that without any spoilers. Also, too, your thoughts on the Vulture article, and did you hear any similar comments prior to the article being released? I would love to know your comments on all of that. So if you want to support me, you can visit buymeacoffee.com/numpy where you could donate and also to look at exclusive posts there. Also, too, I do have a community tab if you go on my YouTube channel. So if you subscribe, feel free to leave comments there as long as it's under community guidelines. And if you want to follow me on social media, my links are in the description. So I want to say thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to catch you on the next one.